All right, we got somebody in here. Gary, what's up, buddy? See you on the live chat there. David, what's up? As you guys are popping in, if you want to go ahead and just shoot me a message there so I can see that the interaction is there. Thank you for the thumbs up. Just launched this about a minute ago. What I've got going here. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that, David. I'm going to go ahead and be reacting to yesterday's Senate meeting. The initial proposal for the T-Mobile and Sprint merger. There was a meeting yesterday, and I haven't watched it yet. I found a particular spot within the meeting that I think I want to react to and kind of respond to. I think it's about 10 to 15 minutes in length, so I figured that'd be a good way to start our first live stream here on the channel. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to get going here in a minute. I'll see if anybody else is going to pile in. Hopefully the audio is good enough for my phone to pick up here as I'm streaming. You guys will get to see my reaction to it, and then I'll just kind of do a little bit of a conclusion and a response to it. Yeah, feeling good about the merger. I mean, it looks more and more likely as the days go on. I just don't really see anything getting in the way. Something major has got to happen if this is going to stop it. I don't know. It just seems right. I mean, the right people are there within the FCC. The right people are there in the DOJ. I mean, there's some questions being asked, but nothing crazy. Audio good? Thank you, David. The only thing I'm concerned about is the audio coming from the feed from the meeting as I'm watching it. I also want you guys to kind of hear it and see my reaction as I respond. I hear a couple things from Marcelo were kind of interesting. That's probably what I'm going to be critiquing the most is Marcelo. For the last couple years, Sprint's been talking a good game about, their network improving and them getting a lot better. And I'm hearing that his tone in this was very, very different. Yeah, if they got their hands on that spectrum, I mean, they know what they're doing because obviously they've made the right decisions in the last few years. T-Mobile's done a lot of great things. The network has much improved. I can remember when they first deployed the network here in the States, it was very humble beginnings. It's come a long way. I mean, I could honestly recommend T-Mobile to somebody now. I could not do that, 7 or 8 years ago. There's some other regulations that have to happen, but getting the DOJ's approval is a really huge step because, if anybody's going to stop the merger, it's them because of the antitrust chief. He's going to be the big convincer. If it goes through the DOJ antitrust chief, then you're pretty set. Layer 3 TV deal? Could be making some noise soon. I hear something was brought up about TV and providers and stuff in this meeting, so I'm excited to see that too. I'm probably going to get going here at about the 5-minute mark. We're almost there. Wait for some more people to pile in. We got about 9 right now. 3 thumbs up. All right. All right, so I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to start the feed on the meeting, and I'll turn the volume up so everybody can hear, as best as I can. I'm not sure how clear it's going to be. Let me know, guys, in the live chat here what it sounds like and how it sounds. I don't know if there's much I can really do, but what's up, Nintendo 504? Hey, buddy. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started, guys. Let me know how the audio is. I think at this point they're just being sworn in. After all, this is kind of, court proceedings. So,
yeah,
here we go. Let's get started.
Thank you. Mr. Legere, you may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Chairman Lee, Ranking Member Klobuchar,
John Legere starting now.
Subcommittee. Thank you for inviting Marcelo and I and the rest of the panel here today to speak to the subcommittee on antitrust, competition policy, and consumer rights, and I look forward to answering all your questions. Your subcommittee has a perfect name, in particular, the consumer rights part. At T-Mobile, we are all about doing right by customers and putting them first. Customers are at the heart of our culture and our business model. Their needs truly drive the decisions we make. As I've said many times, we set out to fix a stupid, broken, arrogant industry. So far, we've ended 2-year service.
John Legere used to work for AT&T talking about stupid and arrogant.
It's easier for people to upgrade to new devices, and we freed people to travel with roaming left on. And we even pioneered unlimited data. We have done all of that while delivering lower prices than the big carriers, AT&T and Verizon. However, while we have made a positive impact on behalf of customers, there's still a lot of work to do, especially in this converging marketplace. Today, I'm pleased to tell you how we want to supercharge the Un-carrier and end the unacceptable status quo, while further increasing competition, creating jobs, and promoting U.S. leadership in 5G.
Are you guys able to hear John?
I've submitted a formal statement for the record, but I want to talk to you today as a CEO that is both passionate and optimistic about the future and the massive benefits our merger with Sprint will create for American consumers and our economy. I've had the privilege to meet.
So John's basically talking about competition and all the good that T-Mobile's done as a disruptor, as an Un-carrier.
Better service, create jobs, and drive product innovation. My answer to these questions is an emphatic and absolute yes. First and foremost, we'll make sure America wins the global 5G race. This is so important because 5G will unlock new capabilities that will fuel innovation and job creation well beyond anything we've seen so far. 5G is about enabling amazing innovation and then ensuring that these new capabilities and services are both available and affordable to everyone. 5G will completely transform the way Americans live, work, travel, and play. 5G means
so he's emphasizing the 5G fifth generation networks. Obviously, that's the big sticking point for the merger.
Nearly every business in America will be able to use 5G to revolutionize how they create and deliver goods and services. To make this happen and deliver on the full promise of 5G, we need to combine Sprint and T-Mobile now. In a moment, Marcelo will describe how the two companies' standalone networks will compare to the network of the combined company. But as you'll be able to see from the charts and maps we have here in the room, with the new T-Mobile, consumers will have broad and deep nationwide coverage. That's what this transaction is about. The benefits of 5G leadership won't just flow to big markets and big cities. Combining these two companies will bring the benefits to consumers everywhere, especially rural America. We will open at least 600 new retail stores and up to 5
It's important. Rural America is often forgotten. There's a lot of people out there that lack true coverage and don't have good, considerable service.
Thousands of American jobs. When we do this,
Talking about jobs.
will be forced to react and follow our lead, or we will happily take their customers.
Yeah, this is the Senate meeting from yesterday.
In reality, when we invest, they must invest. When we lower prices, they must lower prices. And when we innovate, they must innovate. Trust me, the new T-Mobile will not stop. We will be relentless. We will also bring more competition to enterprise customers, where AT&T and Verizon control nearly 90% of the market. We will fiercely attack this market with greater network and selling resources. We will also take on AT&T, Comcast, and Charter in the in-home broadband market. We'll be an alternative for the cable cord cutters who want better service, more choices, and better value.
Oh, I brought up cord cutters.
Offer an alternative
Just talking
to this
TV.
notoriously uncompetitive market and provide an opportunity for millions of American consumers to free themselves from the grip of the traditional in-home broadband providers. In closing, T-Mobile is a proud disruptor. It's in our DNA. It's what drives my magenta-wearing, customer-loving employees who embrace the brand and all it stands for.
John makes me laugh.
It's been our recipe for success, and we have no plans of changing that now. If we keep true to who we are, and I can promise to you today under oath that we will, the new T-Mobile team will deliver for consumers and for our country. Thank you, and I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, Mr. Legere. Mr. Claure.
All right, before Marcelo starts talking, I just want to react to that. So, John just spent the last few minutes talking about competition. He talked about jobs. He talked about 5G. He's highlighting everything we've already known, all the lip service we've gotten from the merger, uh, details and stuff like that. We just basically heard it from him. He's very convincing. He's a speaker. Obviously, he's energetic. He's got passion. There's a reason why he has that position at T-Mobile as their representation in the public and in front of, the Senate. So I think he did a really good job in just showing that he wants to move forward with the merger and how it's going to be a good thing. So let's kind of let's just shift over. Let's see what Marcelo has to say.
Thank you, Chairman Lee, Ranking Member Klobuchar, and members of the subcommittee. It's an honor to be here today. I'm incredibly excited about Sprint's proposed merger with T-Mobile, and will demonstrate why this merger is good for American consumers, Sprint employers, and good for U.S. technological leadership and the next generation of entrepreneurs. I'm an entrepreneur at heart. After I graduated college, I bought a cell phone shop in Boston and grew it into a leading retailer of cellular phones. 2 years later, I started a cell phone distribution business called Brightstar. It grew into a $10 billion company, and it became the worldwide leader in distribution and supply chain services in the wireless industry. I'm proud to say that Brightstar also became the largest Hispanic-owned business in U.S. history. I later sold Brightstar to SoftBank and joined Sprint as CEO. As you're aware, Sprint has faced a lot of challenges in recent years. The company has lost over $25 billion in the last 10 years. I was hired in 2014 to reverse that trajectory and turn around Sprint. And I could not be more proud of what our Sprint team has accomplished in making Sprint a stable company for the first time in many years.
All right, I got to stop it there. So he brought up the debt that Sprint has accrued over the last, several years. That's probably not the best way to endear yourself to these people, to show that you haven't really helped. I mean, he's saying that he stabilized the business, but the business has not recovered and their debt is higher than it's ever been. Uh, I don't know. That's just kind of interesting there.
We're able to achieve this mainly by significant cost reductions. However, many challenges still remain. We still struggle to attract new customers.
Cost reduction.
And once we attract them, we struggle to keep them. Customer perception of our network still trails our competitors, and to be blunt, we lack the resources to challenge the two dominant players, AT&T and Verizon.
All right. He just mentioned customer perception. People don't perceive Sprint as being competitive. People don't see Sprint as being legitimate contenders to any of the top spots of the carriers in the U.S. That is a huge problem. Perception is huge. But the performance hasn't been there either, and he hasn't even mentioned that yet. Let's see if he gets to that.
And now, our industry is getting ready for a new wave of investment in order to deploy 5G, which presents a tremendous opportunity, but it will require Sprint to make massive new investments in a network, even as we haven't even finished paying for 4G. As a standalone company, Sprint will need to invest between $20 to $25 billion in the next 4 years to deploy 5G. And that investment will still only support a 5G network with coverage largely limited to dense metropolitan areas, as you can see on the maps.
All right, I'll stop it right there. So he is highlighting the 5G expenditure that it's going to take to actually deploy a 5G network. He mentioned that it's going to cost about $20 to $25 billion to deploy a true 5G network. And he said even with that, it's going to be market-based. So from place to place, from large city to large city, it's not even full coverage. We're not even talking nationwide. We're just talking Chicago, LA, New York City, big places, where the network can actually, be deployed. So, he's right on about that. I've already looked into some of the Korean 5G network expenditures, and they've exceeded 40 billion in just the first stage of their deployment. So he's accurate about that. All that is true.
Sprint already operates with $32 billion in net debt, and we have struggled to barely break even.
32
We
billion.
would have to invest another $20 to $25 billion just to be able to offer 5G in limited areas. As a standalone entity, we most likely would have to increase prices in order to pay for this investment in 5G. Given the situation we face, I have analyzed all options available to Sprint, including our path as a standalone company. What I have found is that this merger is the best option for employees or shareholders but more importantly, for the American consumer. In business, timing is everything, and today the stars are aligned for us. What makes this merger so exceptional is our combined network and spectrum assets will allow us to take advantage of the rapid emergence of 5G and the imperative for American leadership. I'm a firm believer that best partnerships come when both sides need each other, and the strength of this merger. Neither of our two companies can do this alone. We need T-Mobile, and T-Mobile needs us. So with this merger, we're committed to build the world's most advanced 5G network with true nationwide coverage, urban, suburban, and rural. The combined company will invest nearly $40 billion in this new network over the next 3 years. This new network will power safer self-driving cars, smarter farming, life-saving telemedicine, and other society-changing innovations. Because of this new growth, we will create thousands of new jobs starting from day one. And by combining our network...
All right, so he just mentioned job creation. They have to do that. If they don't let these members of the Senate know that what they're doing is going to boom the economy, it's going to be hard to argue for it. That's really what they care about, especially the DOJ and some of the different commerce organizations. They want to see that you not only have competition that's going to be retained, but you also have jobs being created and jobs not being lost and people not being unemployed. So he made sure that he mentioned it right there as a sticking point.
We will grow our capacity 6 times, meaning that we will vastly increase the amount of gigabytes that the combined company will have available for American consumers. To be successful, we will need to fill this capacity by gaining market share, and we will do this by lowering prices to attract new customers away from the duopoly. This new network will give us the ability to compete and disrupt the dominance of Verizon and AT&T. Because of its high capacity and incredible fast speeds, we also plan to challenge the dominant cable companies like Comcast and Charter, both monopolies on home broadband, and accelerate the current trend of cord cutters. Because of this, Verizon and AT&T are going to need to invest more and to be able to compete with us. Now they'll be forced to react, invest, compete harder, and that will be good for consumers and innovation.
All right, so 2 things he mentioned there. 1, he wanted to make sure that he mentioned the competitive nature of what the merger represents. And then 2, he wanted to make sure that he mentioned the pressure that they were going to also put on to ISPs and cable companies. So he's not just talking, as service providers for, mobile. He's also talking home TV. So like for cord cutters and things like that. That's an interesting thing that he's mentioning. Maybe this does have something to layer 3 TV. Maybe it does, maybe it doesn't, who knows, but that's an interesting twist to this. I'm actually intrigued by that because I don't know about you guys. Everybody watches TV or whatever. Maybe you don't consider, cable or whatever, but I hate cable. I hate the way it's offered. I hate the structure of the business, the lack of competition, the regional restriction. I'm very intrigued by what Sprint and T-Mobile would offer with respect to TV. So I don't know, maybe he's got more on that. Who knows?
In addition, the new company will be able to compete in many new cities and towns all over rural America and allow us to challenge the duopoly in the enterprise and government segments. When U.S. led the world in the development of 4G, American companies led in 4G technological innovation. America should not let countries like China or South Korea take away our leadership.
There you go.
America cannot lose the race to 5G. In closing, I believe this will be one of the most beneficial mergers in American history. We're committed to building the world's most advanced 5G network.
Last thing he mentioned there, he talked about international competition. Notice he did not want to leave out the fact that America wants to win the race to 5G, competing with Asian nations and European nations. That's a really, really big thing. America doesn't like to lose at anything, let alone a technology race. So that's kind of, trying to touch on something that maybe trigger, people to really, be stirred by that. So I think what he's doing is trying to get behind that nationalistic, patriotic, this is the American way. We don't want to lose. We want to win. I think that's what that was. And I think that's to their advantage to make sure they mention that.
Expand our coverage to every corner of America, lower prices, create thousands of new jobs, and stimulate innovation that we can only dream of. Thank you again for inviting John and me here today and giving us the opportunity to showcase our merger. I look forward to answering your questions.
Thank you, sir. Ms. Ketty.
Chairman Lee, Ranking Member Klobuchar, and members of the subcommittee. Thank you for inviting me to talk about 5G. With 4G,
Okay, so I think this lady basically just talks about the network technology that 5G entails and stuff like that. I'm just gonna end. I'm gonna end that video playback from this point, and I'm just gonna kind of reflect and react to everything that was stated. Nothing new was really mentioned. Nothing new that we haven't heard. These are all the details and the things that, we've been hearing from Sprint and T-Mobile as the merger, what types of advantages the merger will offer. This is just basically the Senate wanted to hear it from John and Marcelo. How do I react to it? I think, I don't know, maybe because we already kind of know all the details and stuff like that, maybe there was nothing surprising there. I'm just kind of bothered. All right, so I'm going to tell you guys why I'm bothered. For the last 2 or 3 years, as long as Marcelo has been, CEO of Sprint, he has been consistently saying that Sprint has a fast-growing, improving network. And here he just spent like the last 5, 6, 7 minutes talking about how far behind Sprint is and how they can't do it alone. So what have you been doing, Marcelo, for the last 3 years that you have just changed your tune from, being this great improving network to now needing a merger in order to survive or in order to be, to prosper as a business? So one way or the other, you're lying. This just tells us something, though. I'm not judging Marcelo, I'm not judging Sprint, but here's what I'll say. CEOs, cell phone service providers, ISPs, they will say whatever fits the needs of that moment. That's what Marcelo is doing. So he's telling these people exactly what they need to hear if they're going to believe in this merger. If he was to say what he was saying 2 years ago and 3 years ago and last year, they would say, well, then what do you need the merger for? So this just confirms whatever you're hearing is all just, huff and puff from these CEOs, John, a Verizon CEO, an AT&T CEO. It doesn't matter who it is. They're just going to tell you whatever they want that fits the needs of the moment. And I think that just kind of confirms it. I don't know. So let's respond. Let me hear from you guys. Go ahead and get me in the messages there. What's your take on this meeting? What do you guys think of what, John and Marcelo had to say? What's up, Joey? Nothing. Do you think they were convincing? I mean, what do you guys think? Yeah, they're definitely trying to address their debt. It's really difficult to do. It's a lot of money, $32 billion. And now they're saying, pricing, they're going to have to raise prices, A lot of people, yeah, definitely, David, a lot of people want the merger to go through. I'd say probably, a majority of people do, more than 50%. It's interesting you brought that up. T-Mobile's calling is definitely subpar. I'd say it's not up to snuff compared to their data network. I don't know, their calling just seems flawed. I don't know if it's the connectivity. I don't know if it's just doesn't hold a good connection. All right, Ben, so you think they were pretty convincing? I mean, the presentation was good. You mean, is it voice over LTE? Is that what you're trying to type out there? Yeah, voice over LTE. And it's interesting. I mean, the LTE network is really good, so their calling should be better, but it's definitely not, not as good as it should be. I mean, when you call somebody, you need the connectivity to be good. You're not texting them, you're not messaging them, you're trying to get through. You need that calling to be dependable. Yeah, for sure. You definitely want the low bands. I think that's, you're getting the coverage, so definitely. Was anybody surprised by, or I guess, I don't know. I wasn't expecting Marcelo to be the one leading the way. It seemed like he dominated the meeting the most in terms of time. I thought John was going to do more of that, but Marcelo, I guess, had to do more convincing, being that they're kind of being acquired. I mean, they would be the minority stake in the company. T-Mobile would become the majority operator, and the company would be their name, technically. So one of the questions I wanted to ask you guys, and you guys can, just go ahead and get me there in the messages. How long do you guys think it's going to be before they actually make this approval and allow this to go through? Because I honestly, I don't think it's not a question of if this is going to happen. I think it's more of when. People have been asking me. I have my own thoughts and opinions, but what do you guys think is going to happen in terms of an approval? I'm not talking network integration, just approval. All the governing bodies say, hey, okay, go ahead, you guys are good to merge. I see, was that Ben, you said mid-2019 for approval? Yeah. So that would be like 1 year from now, April 2019. Okay, so late spring maybe, early spring. All right, so everybody's kind of thinking about a year from now. Oh, that's a pretty good estimate. I think that's good to go. On David's birthday, we'll mark that on the calendar. I think some of the things that are going on now, I know, like, I'm going to have a video on this up and coming, but, there's been a lot of questioning of the antitrust chief, the DOJ. He's been asking, the Boost CEO, he's been asking a lot of MVNOs for some interviews, some questions to kind of see where they stand. I think maybe once that process is done, things can kind of move forward. They don't want to seem like they're not asking the right questions to the right people to make sure that they're cool with this and where they stand. I think that's what it's about. Yeah, I support MVNOs. MVNOs offer a great service. I mean, you're getting all the great perks of, the large ISPs, the big cell phone carriers, but you're getting it at a discount rate. It's fantastic. A lot of people feel that way. A lot of people, they have a strong disdain for Verizon or AT&T, and that's why they want this merger to go through. I almost feel like some people want the merger just to spite Verizon and AT&T, and I get it. I mean, nobody wants just one monster carrier who's going to take advantage of all the customers. They want to see, competition, like legitimate competition. So yeah, I get it. One of the points from the presentation there, from when they were speaking, especially Marcelo, and they were speaking about the competition. What do you guys think Verizon and AT&T are truly feeling right now? Do you guys think that, they're thinking to themselves, we've got a couple of years to really jump ahead in this 5G thing. Sprint and T-Mobile are kind of on their way. Do you guys feel like, they're thinking about that? Because they talk a good game, and they'll say, oh, we're not worried. We're AT&T, we're Verizon. Nobody scares us. We're the big two. We're leading the way. Yeah, see, First Twin, I don't know. I think they do care. Not enough to where they're like truly worried. Yeah, see, Peter, I know a lot of people feel that way. But this merger would definitely force them to innovate, and we know T-Mobile's track record. They are disruptive. They are the young carrier, and they could play around with some pricing. Maybe not from like the 5G early onset, but they definitely would in the long term for sure. Yeah, T-Mobile's definitely going to have to kind of put an imprint into this into the 5G networks. I feel like I guess I'm kind of looking into the crystal ball here. I feel like Verizon and AT&T are really going to put a premium onto 5G service. If anybody's going to want it, they're really going to have to pay. It's going to be a premium. Uh, I don't know how they'll price it. Maybe it might be an additional fee. Um, I don't know. It's kind of strange because there's been no pressure to rush out 5G, especially since we don't have really hardware to support it. The phones that we have and the cars and all the things that are going to be running 5G here in the next year or two. I mean, the manufacturing of them has still not really had taken a stronghold. So. I thought about Project Fi the other day. Like, what does that do for them as being in kind of like an MVNO of Sprint and T-Mobile? I don't know. Does that make their service a little bit more integrated? Does it make it better? I think it would ultimately. Be interesting to see what they do there. They do have, Project Fi's big thing is they have a limited number of phones that they sell, so a lot of people don't really consider them legitimate MVNO that they, want to use. I like the idea that pay for the data you use and get refunded for what you don't use. I think it's an attractive way to market the business, but yeah, that the hardware restriction is kind of tough. All right, guys, I think I'm going to leave it at that. Kind of got my response to the Senate meeting yesterday between T-Mobile and Sprint. My takeaway from it is for T-Mobile and Sprint's sake, hopefully they were convincing enough to these senators, and they've piqued their interest and they're convinced to some extent, and we'll see what happens from here. Thank you guys for tuning in. I greatly appreciate it. I think I'm gonna do a weekly live stream from this point moving forward. I'll probably try to do it on a Friday. The video uploads, we're probably looking at like an early upload Monday or Tuesday, and then maybe a second upload on like a Wednesday or Thursday, something like that. So I'll scatter them in there. Also looking to potentially do a podcast here. So I'll gather together some topics and I'll put the podcast together for you guys. It'll be a little more extended like this, probably about 20 to 30 minutes. We'll see where it goes from there. But thank you guys for tuning into the channel. I appreciate it greatly. I guess I'll see you guys in the next live stream. We'll see you guys soon. Peace.